Hello everyone, welcome to the second in this series of our live webinar videos on how to run your campaign. Really exciting. We've seen some amazing projects being created online, and hopefully you're all adding your finishing touches. And if you haven't started yet or you need any help, just get in touch. And so today we're going to talk about running your campaign. We've got Sai from Crowdfunder here to chat a little bit about some of the in launching and widening your crowd. And we've also got Anna from the Big Lemon Plus project in Brighton. Hey, hi Anna. Anna, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your project, which won last year's competition?
Hi Katie, I'm Anna from the Big Lemon CIC. We're a company based in Brighton and we raised £12,500 crowdfunding for our solar bus project. The project was to install solar panels on our depot to power our new electric bus.
Brilliant. Thanks Anna. So the Big Lemon Bus project ran an amazing campaign last year. They managed to not only get the £12,500 grant from M&S, they also crowdfunded £13,000. So that was a lot of work going out, collecting votes and getting people to pledge. So we'll hear some more tips from Anna on how they did that. First, we're going to talk about how important it is to prepare for the campaign. So we're going to be running this campaign and collecting votes for just under 7 weeks. And the more organised you can be before we go live on Monday, the better. So if you know what you're going to do to get the message out to people, you're going to reap the benefits and you're going to be a lot calmer. So I would really recommend maybe like printing out a calendar or popping some dates on your computer calendar for what you're going to do when. And the more you can do, the easier it's going to make your lives, as I said before. And so we're going to talk about launching the project and widening your crowd. And as well, just to say that all of this is also in the project guides. So please do go back and have a little read through there. There's more detail. So that's a really great resource. It's got everything you need to know. Okay, so we're going to talk about launching your project first off. So it's really important to get off to a good start when you launch the campaign. So on the 4th, we want to have a good little plan in place to how you're going to set the momentum going to collect votes and to collect pledges if you're crowdfunding. And what I mean by a pledge is someone putting money on the project, either for a reward or just a donation. That was up to you if you were going to take the crowdfunding option. And so Sai's got a couple of tips on how to launch put a really good launch plan together. So if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit more on that, Sai.
Yeah, of course. So I work at Crowdfunder. I'm going to talk about this from a crowdfunding point of view, but really it doesn't make a difference if you're going out and asking people for pledges or for votes. The concept is still the same. You want to launch as big as you possibly can. It's going to be really super important to get as much traction as you can do when you're running your project as early on as possible. If you front load a lot of work into those first few days after going live, it will make life much, much easier towards the end of the 6 weeks. And you'll carry way more momentum, which will mean collecting way more votes and way more pledges if you're doing the crowdfunding. I can't stress enough how important it is to get off to as good a start as you possibly can. And there's definitely some tips and tricks and techniques for doing that. It's really unlikely when you set off on your crowdfunding or vote collecting journey that you're going to be able to just send a message to complete strangers and get them to pledge on your project or vote for you. It just doesn't happen like that. what actually happens is you send a message out, and the people that are most engaged with what you're doing, so the people that are part of your community group or club or organisation, they're the ones that are going to pledge first, or they're going to vote first. And so really that's the group, that's the audience that you want to focus on immediately. Don't waste too much time trying to go too wide and trying to get votes and pledges from people who may or may not know who you are. Focus on the people you can rely on first. Start small and then go really big. It's important to do that because if I'm a stranger to your organisation, unless I'm really, really compelled by what you're doing, I'm not going to pledge or vote unless I can see people that do know you and do trust you already on there making that decision. We want to build what we call social capital, but really just evidence of this is a good idea on your page before people like me, who's a stranger, will come along and give you my vote or give you my pledge. And so we do that by enforcing the rule that if you are part of this organisation, you have to vote immediately. You have to pledge immediately. As soon as we go live, that's what I want you to do. Get those pledges on, get those votes on from the people who know you and trust you. And by far the easiest way to do that is to tell the people who need to know up front. Let them know that this is coming. Make sure they know that on midday or whatever time it is on the 4th that you want them to make their vote. And line them up, get all of your ducks lined up and get them to vote there and then. Don't let them not do it. Have a launch party where everybody comes along and they have to vote, otherwise they can't come in and get their free cup of tea. It's really, really important to start with the people who know you and trust you, and you can get them to give you their vote or give you their pledge, and then work your way wider. And if you do that, the wider you get, the more fruitful each part of your marketing will be, because you'll be gathering more and more momentum. And in crowdfunding, the general rule is the more money you raise, the more money you can raise. It's sort of like a snowball effect. And that's what we're trying to create by lining up the super engaged people first and then starting to reach out wider and wider and wider. But as far as your launch plan goes, day one, at least 20 people you want lined up ready to vote. If you're crowdfunding, at least 10 people, get them ready to go with their pledge, their card out, or their finger on the button ready to vote. And just work on that commitment and then go wider and wider. That's my top tip for launch.
Fantastic, thanks, Si. So that's your launch. And have you got any tips for people when they launch? What did Big Lemon Bus Project do to get off to a good start?
Well, I agree with Si. Preparation was key, and we made sure that we plugged it on all of our social media. We had an email campaign, and we also gave regular updates on how many votes we were getting and how many more than we needed to reach our target. And we also gave a lot of information about the project and how it could benefit the local community.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. So you have launched your project, and now over the just under 7 weeks, we want to get the word out to people who might not know you so well and your general community. And how do we do that? So we can start, there's lots of things we can do online. We can share through social media, like Anna said. That's a great way to get the message out if a lot of your community are on social media, like to the maybe the slightly younger generation. Get people to share your posts and putting some like really engaging posts up about what you're doing for your project. Maybe you could do a Facebook Live if you hold an event. And there's loads of things you can do. You can also boost posts, and you can do that really targeted. And if you want to know any more about that, please get in touch, and we can give you some more advice on sort of advertising through Facebook and boosting posts, because it can be really powerful. You can be really targeted to the people in your community. And so we've also got emails, as we said before, and that's going to be, if you've got someone's email address, they're going to be pretty engaged. So that's maybe kind of your smaller circles rather than the wider general public. And there's also the updates, like we said before. So when you launch your page, you'll be able to send an update to anybody who's already pledged on your project. And there'll be a little tab on the page that says updates. And this will basically send an email out to anyone who's already voted or already pledged, letting them know what you're doing. And you can also give them a call to action to share the project amongst their friends as well, spread the word wider. So that's a really important thing to do. So get the people who have already pledged and voted you to help spread the word as well. And so there's also lots of things we can do offline. Doesn't all have to be on the computer. We know we've got probably a lot of people in your community might not have a computer. So how do you get the word out to them? A lot of you have been already talking about doing posters and flyers, like Anna said. There's also a poster sort of ready-made in the guide that you can fill out. You can stick that on lampposts around town, maybe go to events and hand out flyers. And I know a lot of you have been planning this already, but really good idea. And speak to people, tell everyone, attend all your local communities, things going on, and try and make an announcement or get whoever's running it to make an announcement. And then we've also got, if you want to maybe organise your own events. So maybe something like a barbecue or a little like a coffee morning, and you can have a computer there, or just have your flyers to hand out with the link to the URL link on there. And that's another really important point that Anna said, is that you make sure you have the URL, the correct URL to your project page on everything that you share. Either that's by paper or in an email or any post you share on Facebook or Twitter. Everything, make sure you've got that specific link in that post or whatever it may be, so it keeps bringing people back to the project to vote on it or pledge. It's really sad when we see like these fantastic posts going on Facebook about people's project and there's no link back to the page, so people struggle to find it. We want to make it as easy as possible for everybody. And another just really important thing to hammer home is that getting everybody to share it for you. So get their family and friends. You might not be local, but you can ask Margaret, who lives next door, that she might have a massive family, and she could text them or share it to them and get them to vote too. So pull in all the support from your community. And another really great thing that you can do is a press release. That might be to the local press or the like, and Sai's going to talk a little bit more about that now. So over to you, Sai. Yeah,
so press releases are super important in the world of crowdfunding and vote gathering. They're a really, really good way of reaching a massive potential audience. And what we're trying to do with a press release is take people who don't currently reside within sort of your sphere of influence and bring them into your world and bring them into your idea and your project and your campaign and get them to do something. And in this case, it's going to be to make a vote or make a pledge. And press releases are amazing for doing that because they can reach so many people so quickly. And really, it's not too tricky to do. So in terms of getting a return on your investment, your time that you've spent doing something, press releases can be a really, really very valuable thing to do and a really valuable way of spending your time. And I'm just going to sort of go through the how it works, because it is relatively simple. You need to find a paper that you would like to have an article displayed in. You can either buy the paper and look for the news desk information inside it, or just head over to Google and Google News Desk. Find the name of a journalist which looks like they're writing in the relevant section to where you want your article to appear. And once you've got the journalist, you need to send them, you're basically doing all the hard work for them. You need to send them what is called a press release. And that's something for you to draft. And the press release is the article that will eventually get shown in the newspaper. So we found the journalist, we're going to write the press release. The press release basically just needs to cover the 5 whys. Remember that from school? Who, what, where, why, and how. I think they're the 5 ones. And you're basically telling everybody what it is that you're doing, why it's really important, how they can get involved, where they can get involved, that all important link that Katie and Anna have mentioned. It's really super important to get that in there. You send that off to the journalist. If you've got any pictures, you can attach that via email as well. If you've got any FAQs that you think might satisfy the journalist's curiosity in the same message, send those over too. And then you await to hear if and when it might be going live. There's a good chance that the journalist will get back in touch with you and say, this is really good, but we'd like to cover this angle and this angle, or slightly tweak it. And that's okay, you can let them do that. You can work through that discussion with them. A top tip and a top piece of advice is, the whole point of us doing this press release is to get an action from the people who are reading it. It's really good for driving awareness, of course, but if we can get them to do something after reading it, then that makes the time we've spent on it even more valuable. And in order to convince the people who are reading it to do something, we need to persuade them that whatever it is that we're involved with is a good idea. So rather than just covering the who, what, why, the 5 whys, try and put an angle across that really shows the benefit to anyone who might be reading the article. Why is it important to them that you're doing this campaign, and how will they benefit from it? And if they support you, how is that going to make a difference to the whole community? If you get that right, then you should find lots of people will be hunting down your campaign and voting and pledging. And like Katie said, it's one of many different mediums that you can use. But I think that the press release represents a really good opportunity to get some widespread awareness and really bring people who are in your community but not engaged with your organisation really sort of into the fold and under your wing. The final thing that I'll say on it is that I believe Katie and the good people at M&S Energy Fund have put together a toolkit. Well, I don't believe it because I've seen it. I know that they have. It's really good. I'd highly recommend you finding it and taking a look. There's step-by-step instructions on how to do a press release, and there's a really stellar template that's there for you to copy across and add in relevant bits about where you are and what it is that you're trying to do above and beyond the general M&S sort of competition. So definitely hunt that down if you haven't seen it already. I think that's it from me, Katie, on the press release.
Thanks, yeah, we'll send around a link to the press release. It is already in the existing guide too, so some of you might have already found it. And just to go over to Anna again, is there anything that you guys did in particular that worked really well to get the message out to wider circles in the community?
Yeah, I mean, like you and Simon have suggested, we told absolutely everyone we know about it. We also put flyers up on our bus, and we got some flyers printed to hand out to the local students as well, all with the link on, of course. And we also won a few awards at the same time, so we were absolutely shameless in plugging the project everywhere we could. No one got past us without voting.
Fantastic advice. Yeah, don't be scared to shout about it and get as many people as you can involved. So I think that's about it. If you've got any questions or would like any other advice, as always, you can get in touch by phone or by email. And we also have in-store engagement happening around the 23rd of September. So if you said yes to being involved with promoting in stores on your application, you could have an email by now asking you to choose which store you'd like to promote in. So make sure you reply to that email by Friday. And then that will be another great way to spread the word in the local community. So all projects will go live on Monday at 9 AM. Best of luck. You're all absolutely fantastically wonderful to do all the projects go from application through to this stage, and I'm looking forward to seeing you running all of your campaigns. So thank you from me and all of the M&S Energy team. And thank you to Sai and Anna for taking part today. Thanks, guys. Thank you.